With Tatiana Suarez's return being soon upon us, not too long from now, in February, according to her. I mean, that is her specific return date. She has confirmed she will come back in February and that she is moving divisions from strawweight, her previous division, to the women's flyweight division. Now, the undefeated Tatiana Suarez has shown to be a very dominant and physically imposing wrestler. You know, one of the best wrestlers in WMMA. Women's MMA doesn't really have many dominant wrestlers, but if there is one, it's Tatiana Suarez. They refer to her as the female Habib, and for a very valid reason. Her style translated well in women's strawweight with her being big, along with the wrestling skills she had. But will it translate into the women's flyweight division? We shall see. She's had a lot of time off to fully round out her game and her skill set, and we shall see what improvement she's made or if she'll come back rusty and not the same. But I am going to assume safely that Tatiana in this time off has actually gotten better and that she hasn't gotten worse and that we're still going to see Tatiana in peak form. And if we do, I do believe she can deal with a lot of these flyweight women. With her Olympic level wrestling, she qualified for the Olympics. Yeah, she couldn't make it because unfortunately she got cancer, so she was not able to compete in the Olympics, but that's how good her wrestling is. And in this video, I want to break down how does Tatiana do against the top 15 of the flyweight division, because upon her return, I gotta think she's gonna fight one of these 15 women. So I want to talk about how does she do against the top 15 plus the champ. And I'm gonna start at number 15, Amanda Ribas. I think she gets smashed by Tatiana Suarez, absolutely mauled. She's not gonna be able to deal with the wrestling of Tatiana. She gets taken down, she ain't getting back up. Cynthia Calvillo has nothing for Tatiana Suarez. She gets taken down. I think she'll have no answer for the top control of Tatiana. I think Cynthia Calvillo's bottom game, her jiu-jitsu, will get completely negated by the top pressure of Tatiana Suarez. Tracy Cortez gets mauled as well. She won't be able to out-wrestle Tatiana. Macy Barber gets mauled. I don't think Casey O'Neill will be able to deal with the wrestling of Tatiana. And if I recall correctly, Roxanne Modafferi was actually having some success with wrestling against O'Neill. I think the actual wrestler of Tatiana could, better capitalize than Modafferi. Erin Blanchfield at number 10. Now, this is actually very interesting because Blanchfield is a very high-level grappler, one of the more high-level grapplers in this division, and she could pose threats to Tatiana, on the ground. The grappling could cancel each other out, and neither are really known for good stand-up. But I do not see Blanchfield getting Tatiana to the ground. Tatiana has amazing takedown defense, and it's highly possible that within this time off, Tatiana's striking after years out of the game could be a lot better than what it was when she was actively competing a few years ago. So there is a possible path to victory that Tatiana could defend takedowns of Erin and win in the stand-up and outpoint Blanchfield to a potential decision. Or maybe she just altogether just out-grapples Erin, gets her on the ground, Erin can't get a sub, and Tatiana just destroys her. That's very possible. But I'm going to say, even though it's a dangerous fight for Tatiana, I could see her getting submitted. I'll say Tatiana gets it done, but risky fight. Andrea Lee has nothing for Tatiana. I think she gets absolutely destroyed. Jennifer Maia could be dangerous for Suarez because she's very physical. And I think she'll be better than her on the feet. She's got that advantage, but then poses threats to Tatiana off her back. Jennifer Maia has dangerous Brazilian jiu-jitsu. She could potentially catch Tatiana in a submission. Tatiana could struggle imposing her wrestling. And then once she does get on top, she's got to watch out for those arm bars that Jennifer Maia will fling up. But Tatiana has very good top control, very good positional awareness, and she could get this fight to the ground and safely control Maia, and maybe get her in a position to where Maia is unable to get a sub, and Tatiana could maybe ride out a decision win against Jennifer Maia. But dangerous fight. Viviane Araújo at number 7. Like Jennifer Maia, she's very physical. She doesn't really have much of a threat on the ground, but she poses threats on the feet. Better striking than Tatiana. Very explosive and very powerful. But I do think Tatiana could get to her with the wrestling. She could wear on Vivi Araujo, wear her down and just maul her, break her down, and do her thing. So I do favor Tatiana in that matchup. Now, number 6, Jessica Andrade. This one is very interesting because I do think Andrade is one of the toughest matchups for Tatiana in the flyweight division. Even when both were at strawweight, I always thought Andrade was like the nightmare matchup for Tatiana because Andrade is very physically strong for her size. She may not be a big flyweight, and Tatiana does have a size advantage. I think Andrade might be stronger than her. And that strength of Jessica Andrade has always sort of been her cheat code throughout her career because she's been able to pick up and slam girls who are bigger than her. Her strength adds to her already really good takedown defense. It makes Andrade very tough and difficult to keep on the ground. So Tatiana could have a hard time implementing her wrestling on Jessica Andrade. She'd have to be very careful when shooting for a takedown because Andrade has a nasty guillotine to counter takedowns. And if Tatiana gets caught up in that guillotine, she's probably not escaping and might be screwed. And then, of course, in the stand-up, Tatiana does not want to mess around in the stand-up with Andrade. Andrade is just way too powerful for Tatiana Suarez and a lot more comfortable on the feet. And she's got really good cardio, which could be problematic for Tatiana. We've seen Tatiana slow down against Nina. We've never seen Andrade gas out once. And that could be a problem if this is like a 5-round fight. Maybe a 3-rounder could be beneficial for Tatiana, and maybe she could work her wrestling, her takedowns, and win the first 2, survive the third. But if she's got like 2 more to go after round 3, Andrade might drown her and finish her in the late rounds. Now, we did see Valentina, out-grapple and maul Jessica on the ground. So that begs the question, could Tatiana maybe do the same thing that Andrade did? That's very possible. That is very possible, but Tatiana is nowhere near as skillful or as well-rounded or as complete as Valentina. And I don't know if she has the strength of Valentina either. So Andrade might handle herself better against the wrestling of Tatiana than she did against Valentina Shevchenko, and she might still end up winning that. So I want to say Tatiana wins that fight. It's going to depend on how many rounds the fight is. Maybe Tatiana can get a finish before it gets to round 3 or round 4, but yeah, ultimately, I think the matchup does favor Andrade, given everything I mentioned. Bad matchup for Tatiana. I would hope Tatiana wins, but I'd say Jessica is kind of a kryptonite and gets it done more times than not. Number 5, Alexa Grasso. Tatiana already beat her before 5 years ago. And this was a younger, less developed, more one-dimensional version of Alexa Grasso. But even still to this day, I still think Tatiana gets it done. I think Tatiana is always going to be a bad matchup for Alexa Grasso, no matter how much Alexa has improved on the ground and with her takedown defense. It's just not going to be enough. She's still giving up takedowns to Vivi Araujo, Macy Barber. And I still don't think she'll be able to hold off the takedowns enough times against Tatiana to fully implement her superior striking. And on the ground, her improvements in her ground game might be enough for her to survive a bit longer, last a bit longer, maybe make it to a decision. But ultimately, I just don't see her being able to, negate the wrestling of Tatiana. Stopping takedowns and getting up, I don't see that happening. And I think Tatiana likely mauls her again. Maybe a finish a bit later or a decision. I would want Alexa to win, but styles make fights. And I don't think she's ever beating Tatiana Suarez unless she catches her in like maybe a Hail Mary sub. Lauren Murphy gets destroyed. Caitlin Chukagian, I'd say, is like the easiest matchup in the division for Tatiana Suarez. I think she'll have no problem taking Caitlin Chukagian to the ground. Caitlin Chukagian doesn't really have good takedown defense. She's not that difficult to take down, and when you do get her down, she's not that difficult to keep down. And Caitlin really offers no threats to Tatiana. She's a points fighter, but she doesn't pack a punch on the feet, so Tatiana doesn't have to worry about power in the stand-up. And on the ground, there's really no sub-threat, so I think Tatiana honestly might finish her, and she might even sub Caitlin Chukagian. Now, number 2, Taila Santos. Horrible matchup for Tatiana. I think she beats Tatiana Suarez. Taila Santos is very physical, very strong, very good takedown defense. I believe she could stuff takedowns of Tatiana Suarez, but she also has the dangerous Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to counter the wrestling of Tatiana. She has that threat on Suarez. If it does go to the ground, she could potentially sub Tatiana. And on the feet, she has an advantage, a striking advantage, and a power advantage. She could hurt Tatiana Suarez. She might even be able to take Tatiana Suarez down, if anything. And Taila Santos is big as well. I forgot to mention that. She's got size to go with all of her grappling strengths, which makes her a lot harder to deal with in grappling situations, which would make Tatiana ultimately struggle. Tatiana would not be able to weight bully. She wouldn't be able to weight bully Taila Santos. That would be like a bantamweight versus a bantamweight. So yeah, terrible matchup for Tatiana. I think she actually gets beat up badly and finished against the number 1 contender, Manon Fiorot. How does that one go? I mean, that could be a very dangerous fight, but Manon has like a 63% takedown defense ratio. I'm not really sure if that simple path to victory of stuffing takedowns and outstriking Tatiana will really work in favor of Manon. It might be the same problem as Alexa. Honestly, I could see Manon just getting taken down and mauled. Now, on the feet, she's dangerous for Tatiana, but can she keep it there? And can she impose her striking and negate the wrestling of Tatiana? I doubt it. I say Tatiana could beat the number 1 contender and the champion, Valentina Shevchenko. This is a very interesting matchup because Tatiana brings a lot of things to the table stylistically that could be problematic for Valentina Shevchenko, because Tatiana, she's got size and strength along with her elite level wrestling, and she is a better wrestler than Taila Santos. So whereas Talia had a lot of strength to, get takedowns and gain control on Valentina, Tatiana's got that wrestling technique. She knows she's like an expert at takedowns and how to use them, positional control, which could be even worse for Valentina to go up against. And Tatiana is very heavy on top. We know Valentina can be controlled on the ground. However, Valentina Shevchenko is composed. She's far more complete of a fighter. So not only does Tatiana have to watch out for the striking of Shevchenko, but even on the ground, Shevchenko could pose threats. Tatiana can't be reckless with ground and pound because Valentina could definitely seize an opening to snatch up an armbar. We saw this with Juliana Pena. But Valentina is also very hard to finish, and she has more 5-round experience than Tatiana. Tatiana's never had to go into the late rounds. We know that Valentina is a cardio freak, as shown in her last fight. We know Tatiana can slow down after a couple of rounds. And against Valentina, I could easily see a scenario where Tatiana is having early success with her wrestling, but Val stays composed, survives the early rounds, is able to avoid damage on the ground, and then adapts to the wrestling, eventually starts defending takedowns midway through the fight, and starts amping up that pressure. And, Tatiana wears down, starts panicking, starts taking more damage on the feet, and gets beat up as the rounds go on. And Valentina might be able to stop Tatiana Suarez late in the fight, or just beat her up in rounds 3, 4, and 5 after losing the first 2 rounds. And cruises to a comfortable yet clear 3-2, 48-47 unanimous decision and still. So ultimately, I actually do favor Valentina to win this fight against Tatiana. I'd hope that Tatiana Suarez would win, and she could definitely capitalize on the success that Taila Santos had. But Valentina, like I said, she just has more ways to win. She's just way too complete of a fighter, way too composed, and way too experienced in championship fights and over 5 rounds. And that's why I think Valentina Shevchenko wins. So I say Tatiana beats almost everybody in the top 15 except for number 6, number 2, and the champion. But that's it for my breakdown on how Tatiana does against the top 15 flyweights. I believe she beats almost everybody, and I hope I'm right. I hope that Tatiana has a successful, triumphant return. Hopefully she can get in the mix, get into the title picture, and maybe grab that belt. That'd be pretty sick. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you agree? Like and subscribe, and peace out.